set?
You guys good down there? Okay. Please stand for a flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you please remain standing for, we lost one of our own here in the chamber. Barbara Padula passed away. She's been a long-time employee here. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through a notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed to all, requested and paid for same, and published in Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Hudson.
Here.
Councilman Day.
Here.
Councilman DeLong.
Here.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Here.
Councilwoman Polidori. Here. Councilman Bennett.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney Joseph Ragno and our Borough Administrator Kevin Boyd.
Thank you. Just to follow up, unfortunately, Barbara Padula passed away. She was an employee here in the town for 15 years, assistant clerk. She was a wonderful woman. She knew how to speak to the residents as they came in, and she is going to be greatly missed. And if anyone would like to send a donation, it's in lieu of flowers. The donations are in Barbara's name, made to St. Jude's Research Hospital, Memorial Processing. I have an address. Liz, you have this at the office. So if anybody has any concerns about it, please contact Liz at the office. Okay. Let's go right to the business improvement budget.
Business Improvement District Budget, Resolution 19-75, resolution authorizing adoption of a budget in the amount of $622,387.33 for the Special Improvement District in the Borough of Pompton Lakes for the year 2019.
Motion to introduce the bid budget in the amount of $622,387.33 for the year 2019.
So moved.
Councilman President Riker, Councilman Daig. This is an introduction of the bid budget. We just vote on it, but the bid makes their own budget for their purposes. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Day.
Yes.
Councilman DeLong.
Yes.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
I'm going to be the
Yes.
notice. Notice is hereby given that the public hearing and final adoption for the foregoing Special Improvement District budget will be held on Wednesday, March 27th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. in the Municipal Council Chambers, 25 Lennox Avenue, Pompton Lakes. Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Councilman DeLine, Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address?
My name is Gergen Crockefair, 26 Albert Street, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. I found out a lot of stuff that I want to share with the council and everything, but right now I've got a couple of problems that I'm working on in my own personal life. So, I think I need to take it easy for a bit. And I'm proud of what the town is doing, but I'll talk to Eck and I'll talk to you about certain things, because I have your cards. I do need some way to get that form. And do you have it now?
Which one, the one you brought to us?
Yeah, the one I gave to you.
I unfortunately don't have it. I don't
Okay.
know if anybody else here has it.
No.
Probably not.
Okay, well, I'll have to start from scratch then. Okay, well, I thank you for what the town has done for this family, and I just want the future to be this town, and I love this town. Okay.
And you should take care of your health, or any other issues you have, take care of first. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Nancy Marshall, 5 Amber Turnpike. The house in front of me, 9, is being demolished.
and
Okay.
redeveloped. I'd like to know when that house is coming down.
So say it again where you are, I'm sorry.
5 Hamburg Turnpike.
Oh, okay,
I'm behind 9.
behind 9, okay.
Yeah. I'd like to know when the construction is going to start with it.
That's up to the builder. They haven't applied for permits yet. They've been through the boards.
Okay.
They've gotten the approval of the boards. So the next step for them would be applying for permits from the town, which to date, they have not applied. I would guess, though, within the next couple months, when the weather breaks, they would start working on the project.
Is there any way I can get an idea when it, because I would like to be home when that house comes down.
Well, you'd have to talk to the building department, and I don't even know if he'll release that information. It's, it's private property, so they'll do it when they want. The best thing I can tell you is, you can go to the building department and request to speak to the attorney of that person, and say, look, I'm just a concerned resident, I would like to be home when you're going to take it down, could you send me an email or give me a call? We don't even know. They apply for the permits, and then, whatever they work out with the building department, they can make it work.
When roughly, you figure the permits will be like a couple months?
No, they'll apply for the permits now, and they should only take a couple weeks. So my guess is they're going to wait till the weather breaks. I mean, I don't think they're going to do much in the wintertime. So maybe in March, April, in that area.
And my other concern?
Yeah, by the end of March, yeah.
End of March.
So, yeah, so you understand how it works. They're going to get a permit to demolish, which
Correct.
is one permit. That they usually get up front. And you use the Salvation Army as an example. They've got their demolish permits already, and that's why the building's down. Now they're applying to build their building permits. So it'll sit demolished until they get the building permits, which takes a little more time to get. So they can apply for the one permit right now to demolish it, and then go back and apply, or they can do it all at once.
Okay.
It doesn't go either way.
All righty.
But they're pretty reasonable people over there. I've spoken to them. I think if you just reach out to the attorney and say, look, I am a neighbor, I'm just concerned for whatever reason, could you just please give me an update of when the house is coming down? I'd appreciate that, and I think they would do that.
All right, so that would be, I'd have to go here to the building.
You could call the building department
Okay.
and just tell them what you're looking for, and say, can you give me the attorney's name, or the
Yeah.
builder's name? I
Okay.
don't know if they'll give you the builder's name. I don't want to say who it is, let them... Yeah, it's Lindsay Janelle in town. She's the attorney. She has an
Okay.
office right here in town, but I'd rather you go
Go through the
do
building.
channel than go and just knock on her door and...
No problem. I can do that.
Yes, that's probably the best way to do that.
And the other concern I have is when it floods.
When,
When we have our floods, because we're right on the Paquonic River. I do know there's 6 or 7 townhouses going up on the corner of Morris Ave and Hamburg Turnpike sometime. I don't know
in
exactly when,
Riverdale now.
yeah, in Riverdale, because
Right.
I got notice for that too.
Yes, right.
There's gonna be new, building construction in front of me. The wastewater, like, I don't want it in my backyard.
Of course. So, understand the project they're building with you is really not changing the footprint of what's there now. There's a house there now. And they're basically building within that same footprint of the
Correct.
house. So I don't think it'll change they're not changing the landscape. They can't bring in dirt or change things. That's part of the permitting process. Runoff is addressed in that. Any new building nowadays, there's runoff is addressed, how they're handling runoff. They can't just dump it into the street or whoever. So that is addressed. The project in Riverdale, unfortunately, you're going to have to go to Riverdale. and
Oh,
discuss
yeah,
it.
I've been going.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
just saying, that I've got 2 construction that's like
I
in a
get
beat
you.
from me, and as I said, my backyard is gonna get it if it's not dealt with.
And I don't know enough, does the Paquonic flood up to where that house is?
Yeah.
Is that in the flood
100
zone? I
feet.
don't even know if that house is. in
High
the
end.
flood.
I am elevated, but the bottom part of my property isn't.
Right.
And I have gotten 6 feet of water in my backyard.
Sure. But that is addressed in all the plans, so that is taken, at least on our side, Riverdale, I can't
Okay,
speak.
I understand that,
Yeah.
as I said, I've been going back and forth both meetings just to, to check on that side too.
Okay.
All right.
Riverdale approved? Are the Riverdale
There, I know there was,
approved?
They were, yes.
Yeah,
They were already approved?
yeah.
I think they ran into some permitting issues with DEP because they removed the trees without DEP's permission, so I don't know if they've resolved that issue.
I don't
but
know
that
either, but
was-
I was there for that meeting when they went through that.
Okay, yeah, but I know they had that issue with DEP,
Mhm.
removing those trees without permission, so.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session? Councilman DeLine, Councilman Venon, Council President Riker. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Approval of minutes, motion to approve the following minutes, regular meeting minutes of February 13th, 2019.
So moved.
you want, before or after the motion? There's a correction.
Oh, you have a correction?
I have a correction.
All right, so let's get it.
You want to get it, let's get the
Well, we have to
correction.
do a motion.
Yeah, yeah,
You
right.
want the motion, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, second.
Councilman Blind, Councilman Giaconetti, okay, you had a correction?
Okay, yeah. The very end of the minutes, Liz, when you have the mayor's privilege of the floor, it's not quite presented accurately in that originally the mayor was talking about parking, and he was putting together a subcommittee, and originally he had called for myself, and I think it was Eric and Bill had chimed in and said yes, and then Joe intervened and said, no, that's one too many, but I don't remember which one you pulled off.
Do you guys remember?
I
thought it was
think
myself.
You got pulled off.
you got pulled off?
Oh, pull it off?
We're asking.
I thought Bill got
I
pulled
thought
off.
Bill got pulled off.
Yeah, I think Bill got pulled off.
Okay,
So, so the committee should be mayor, myself, and Eric.
I'll make that correction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Bills and claims as listed below. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Councilman Bay, Councilman Bennett, is that Councilman Bennett? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, petitions, we have none. Consent agenda whenever you're ready.
Does anyone have any?
First one, please.
First one?
First one.
Whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, and whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda, now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 1976 and 1977, and we're pulling 1974.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Council President Riker, have a second?
Second.
Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay.
Resolution 1974, amending 457 deferred compensation plan offered by Lincoln Financial Advisors, 92 PD Lincoln 121316.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Council President Riker, Councilman Giaconetti. Go ahead, you had discussion?
Yeah, I just want an explanation.
The town offers a couple deferred compensation plans, one through Lincoln, one through Valley. The Lincoln plan itself changed some of its requirements based on some state law changes. This is just us doing a resolution saying we approve the changes, we have to sign a new contract, but it doesn't affect the actual plan or the impact on the employees using it. It's more paperwork trail for the state of New Jersey Department of Insurance.
And the deferred compensation plans are for what? What?
Like a 457, 401. It's, you take money out, you put it in a deferred plan, like you would if you had your own deferred compensation.
Yeah, town don't match it.
It's savings, so,
Extra savings.
You can do it.
Comes from the employees.
you know,
These are for current employees only?
This includes us too. We can do it if you wanted to.
You could put more money in if you want, into a
we
separate
do it,
fund.
but it has nothing, normally, council has never taken charge of that, no. It's mostly employees, police officers,
Yeah.
DPW.
But I'm asking current employees only, or how does that work?
Well, if
Yeah.
you're hired, you can make a
Working.
plan, but you have to be an employee to be in the plan.
Okay, is this I guess I'm just really looking for more, for information. Is this a recent thing or something that we've been doing for a long,
We've been doing it for years.
For a long time.
for a long time? Okay, and what determines, are the Lincoln and Valley programs very comparable, or are they really designed?
Pretty much, there's nothing we want to be in. And each plan has its own, like a Fidelity compared to a Vanguard.
Right,
They have their own, nuances, but they're both basically the same. It's up to you to determine what plan is best for you.
and why do we got it offered too, if they're like Coke and Pepsi?
Well, because, why not? There's no, from a town point of view, there's no negative side to us. We're offering our employees the opportunity, different vehicles for investment. That's why we do it.
Okay, do we find that most of the employees participate?
It depends. Most of the employees are police officers.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, introduction, first readings.
This This is the introduction of the 2019 municipal budget, ordinance 19-11, in order to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits to establish a tap bank.
Okay, motion to approve ordinance 1911 for introduction. So moved. Councilman Day, Councilman Devine. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Renfro.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Day.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Councilman Jaconet.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Okay, before we move on, I'm just going to give a little update on the budget, and I think Councilman Denon will have some words to say also. After a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication by everybody up here, you know, we fought to keep our budget as best we can and not lose any services, and I think our administrator and everybody up here has done a good job in doing that. I have to remind the public, we're only in charge of about 19%, I'm sorry, about 24% of your tax dollar. So every quarter, roughly, of each dollar, the town is responsible for. So with that being said, our increases on an average new assessed value of a home, which is the new numbers that just came out from the last reassessment, is going to be about $27 increase, which is about a 1%, 1.17 increase percentage-wise. We do that increase and keep all our programs. Obviously, pensions and retirements cost a lot of money, and they increase every year as they go. And I think that's a responsible budget in doing that, and keeping, unfortunately, with state aid hasn't been increased in 10 years from the state, unfortunately. So we get the same number we got 10 years ago, but the pensions and retirement and health care go up every year. So it's a pretty good budget. I'm going to ask Councilman Devine to say a couple more words on it. He's the chair, Councilman Venning, because he's the chair of the Finance Committee.
Looking right at you, too.
Got to change places.
The 2019 budget is the second one tied to the revaluation of the borough. Unfortunately, unlike 2018, this year's budget has been impacted by a loss of ratables, once again due to normal tax appeals and the vacant A&P property. This year, our valuation was off by 1.17%, or $14,212,700. This alone created a 1 point increase in the tax rate on what otherwise was a stable rate. In simple terms, the average assessed home valued at $279,000 will see a local increase of $27.58 for 2019. Every $120,275 that is added or subtracted from the budget appropriations equals to a tax point of $27.90. Though this budget saw an increase in health care, insurance, pension costs, and salaries, the overall appropriation was to be raised by taxes actually decreased by some $6,191.94. The 2019 budget fully funds all borough operations. It addresses the needs of all our departments while funding a robust capital budget as well. This is a credit to department heads who have learned to do more with less and think out of the box while continuing to serve our residents. The 2019 budget is the 8th budget in a row which the municipal tax increase has been less than $100 on the average assessed home. As with prior budgets, this year's is below the tax levy and appropriations caps as required by state law. Our overall debt ratio continues to be solid and our cash surplus healthy. The 2019 capital budget provides funding for continual improvements to the First Aid Squad building, equipment for the police department, backhoe, dump truck, and roll-off truck for DPW, and much-needed gear for the fire department. The 2019 capital budget also includes projects like ADA curb ramps, repaving of Montclair Ave, continued stormwater and river work. For the first time, $200,000 has been added for various road paving. All in all, the borough will fund some $1.5 million, which will be offset by $462,000 in grants and other funding. The budget process begins every year in September and is truly a team effort. The team starts with the staff, department heads, council finance committee, mayor and council, along with outside financial professionals. The 2019 budget funds borough operations while providing stable footing for the 2020 budget.
Thank you. Those are good words to go by on our budget. It's not an easy thing to put a budget together, especially in these tough times and increased costs. You know, we're doing that, and even introducing, Councilman Bennon brought up, we're going to put money aside every year to take care of our roads. Some of our roads haven't been paved in 50 years. So we've got an engineer that came in and have graded all our roads from worst to best, and we're going to start on the worst road, and we're going to put, was it 300,000 or 200,000? 200,000 in every year to address those roads that are the worst as we move through them. That's a huge thing to do for the first time, because previous to this, we put no money into taking care of our roads. So I think with all that being said, an increase of $27 and the improvements that you see with the fire and first aid, and especially the roads, it's a responsible budget. You will hear more about it as we move forward. Okay. The resolution for the budget, you don't have to read it all, but
Motion to introduce the 2019 municipal budget.
okay, can I have a motion to introduce the budget as listed there?
So moved.
Councilman Bay, Councilman Vedden, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Riker?
Yes.
Councilman Lennon?
Yes.
Councilman Bay?
Yes.
Councilman Deline?
Yes.
Councilman Jacanetta?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
And then I'm going to read the notice. Notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution was approved by the governing body of the Borough of Pompton Lake, County Passaic on February 27th. A hearing on the budget and tax resolution will be held at the municipal building on March 27th at 7:30, at which time the place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2019 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested persons.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to ordinances for second reading.
Well, we still have the ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, we still have some more, okay.
Pull that.
We're gonna pull that.
Yeah, we're pulling we're pulling ordinance 1912. We'll look at it for next week. So ordinance, 1908. This is for second reading and final adoption.
For second reading, final adoption, these ordinances have been advertised and posted on the municipal bulletin board. Ordinance 19-08, an ordinance amending parts of section 523, towers and towing.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve ordinance 1908 for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman DeLine, Council President Riker, roll call, please.
Do you want to?
Well, no, actually, let's open it to the meeting first here. Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 1908.
So moved.
Councilman DeLine, Councilman Bennon, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 1908? Councilman Jacanetta?
Second.
Councilman Bennon? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 1908 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman DeLine?
Second.
Councilwoman Polidori? Roll call, please.
Do you want to have discussion?
Was there any discussion? Anybody want discussion? This is what we talked about, the increases in the fees, but this is a state regulation more than anything.
And the fees were in our packet.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Okay. Councilwoman Riker?
Yes.
Councilman Bennon?
Yes.
Councilman Day?
Yes.
Councilman Deline?
Yes.
Councilman Jacanetta?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
Ordinance 19-09, an ordinance amending provisions of Chapter 190 relating to the Hamburg redevelopment area, 9 Hamburg Turnpike, Block 2800, Lot 11.
Motion to approve ordinance 19-09 for introduction. Well,
So,
yes, for introduction, I'm sorry.
okay, so moved.
Council President Riker? Have a second? Councilman Jacanetta? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 19-09.
So moved.
Councilman Jacanetta?
Second.
Councilman Bennon? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public comments for ordinance 19-09?
So moved.
Councilman DeLine?
Second.
Councilman Bennon? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 1909 for final adoption.
So moved.
Council President Riker?
Second.
Councilman Devine? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Riker?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Bay?
Yes.
Councilman Delory,
Yes.
Councilman Giaconetti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
Ordinance 19-10, an ordinance amending section 5-20 through 5-2012, solicitors and canvassers.
Motion to approve ordinance 1910 for introduction.
So moved.
Councilman Begg?
Second.
Councilman Giaconetti? It says roll call. Should it be a roll call or should it be all in favor? For the introduction, it's not a roll call. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 19-10.
So moved.
Councilman Devine?
Second.
Councilman Bennett? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the audience would like to talk about ordinance 1910 only? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 19-10?
So moved.
Councilwoman Baldori, Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Before we do a final, I just want to remind everybody, we do have a form on our website, and in the office, you can come pick it up. If you fill out the form, it says that solicitors cannot come to your house, and there's a list that's given out to the solicitors when they come that shows the houses that they're not allowed to go to. We would like as many people as I can to sign up for this. I will tell you that federal law protects them to go to your house up till 9 o'clock at night. I get a lot of calls, especially from our seniors. Somebody's knocking on my door at 8:50 trying to sell me windows, and I don't appreciate that. There's really not much we can do about that. It's a federally regulated program. The one thing we can do is have people sign up to the no solicit list, and then they will not come to your house. And there is an added advantage that if by chance they do go to your house and you're on this list, please call and let the police department know. There are fines involved, and if it happens enough, we can ask them to stop coming to town. So I would recommend that anybody who can, get on the list, follow it. Don't answer the door at 9 o'clock at night. You know, they came to my house about 2 months ago. I'm like, who's knocking my door at 9 o'clock? And they were selling vinyl siding. And they have a permit. I asked for a permit. I asked for a license. They had all the required documents. So with that, motion to approve ordinance 1910 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Devine?
Second.
Councilman Begg, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Riker?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Bay?
Yes.
Councilman Delory,
Yes.
Councilman Giaconetti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Okay, under my report, I'm going to start with a update for our zoning board. I need a motion made to move Mary Curran to an expired term as a member, and move Maureen Bernstock as a member, and then move Adam Kent to an alternate 1, and Dave Rowan to an alternate 2. So, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bennett, Councilman Giaconetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Starting with that, actually, our zoning board chair, who's been a chair, I think, for probably 15 to 20 years, has decided to step down. I want to thank Frank Russo personally for all the time and effort he's put into a volunteer job. He was very knowledgeable in what he did, and he did a good job in moving our zoning board forward. You know, all the boards that we have here in town are all made up of volunteers. They put a lot of time and energy into making our town a better place. So I thank him and all the board members that do that, but I want to personally thank Frank. And I also would like to thank now Cindy McNamara for stepping up and being our new zoning board chairperson, and Willie Hunt to be our vice chair at that group. They'll do fine. They've both been on the board for over 15 years each, so we'll be moving forward with that. Okay, under my report, again, you know, I want to, my personal sympathies to the Padula family. You know, I worked with Barbara for many years in the office, and she will be shortly missed by me, at least, and I'm sure everybody up here. I attended the rec meeting. I'm sure Councilwoman Polidori will speak more about that. We spent a lot of time and energy at some budget meetings discussing the budget that was just introduced. Again, I have to remind everybody, it's very important that everybody understands, out of a dollar, the easiest way to look at a tax dollar is the school is responsible for about 62% of a tax dollar, the county is responsible for about 19% of a tax dollar, and we're responsible for the rest, which I think is about 24 or 25%. So each separate group will do their own budgets, and then we fill in the numbers after that. So we did our budget, the school will be doing theirs very shortly, and then the county will be doing theirs very shortly. That is your total increase in your taxes when that happens. I'll say decreases, but I don't think, since I've been involved, I've never seen a decrease going forward, but maybe in the future, things can happen, you know. I'm not promising anything with redevelopment, you know, we're using redevelopment to stabilize our tax base, and I would hope that that does that with these projects coming through. Who knows what down the line that can do for us, so hopefully with the redevelopment, that will be a big change. I attended a stigma-free meeting today, stigma-free. We have a small grant of, I think it's about $3,000 or $4,000, or maybe $6,000?
Almost
7,000, okay, 7,000 to identify, to train our professionals to identify concerns with mental illness, and to make children and adults aware that mental illness is just another disease like any other disease. And someone brought up a good example of it today for the schools. When a third grader breaks his arm, he gets a cast put on it, all the kids come in, they sign the cast, they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I hope you feel better." They want the same appreciation for mental illness when it comes to a child and an adult, to be respected and not be, made nervous, to feel uncomfortable that they have that. So that's what stigma-free means. We have become a stigma-free community. You'll see some signs going around. Some towns are, some towns aren't. That's just basically a commitment saying, we understand there's a situation where some people feel uncomfortable talking about mental illness, and we want to start that dialogue. So it was a good meeting. I want to thank everybody who attended. All our school principals were there, our health department, our administration was there, the Chilton Hospital who's running it, there was probably 25 members at the table. So I thank everybody for being involved in that. I'm sure we're going to get questions about Summit Avenue. We're trying to get that project done. The weather's not cooperating. They need a couple days to finish it off, probably a week's worth of work. But unfortunately, the weather's, when it gets cold, they can't do concrete, they can't do paving, so it's going to have to sit until the weather warms up a little bit. They were trying to shoot for the end of this week. Again, the weather doesn't look cooperative, so it probably will be the end of next week when that happens. I get a lot of questions about the Salvation Army. Yes, the Salvation Army is coming down. Like I mentioned before, they're applying for their permits to start the building. The building will probably start in March or in April when the weather breaks, and they'll work for, a couple months, maybe 5 to 6 months to get that back up and running, and then from there, we'll see what happens with the project will be finished. I will tell you that the pilot has been worked out with them. It's a 30-year agreement. It's, I think, 13%, do you remember, John? 13 or 12% per year. It's a nice piece of change, and I'll get you those numbers to compare what they were paying in taxes and what they will be paying in pilot, which is a substantial difference. Budget means everything. Okay, for the council, we will be doing CTO Day next February 25th. No, I'm sorry. March 13th. Everybody's been through CTO Day before. That's for the public. That's when the school takes over as the council and mayor. They meet with us first, and then they put their own agenda together. And they come up with, they run their own meeting with, just like you're seeing this, and come up with some interesting ideas of how they'd like to see improvements in town. And I will tell you, for the last 5 years that I've been improved, the kids have really come up with some ideas that we've actually gotten behind a couple of them. They're good ideas. It's a nice way to get ideas from kids, how they see things on the ground level and want to change it. Last year, for example, they brought up, they'd like to see the businesses downtown recycling more. That was their big thing about recycling. It's a great idea, and we don't do it. We are looking into it. So, that will be taking place next, our next meeting for the council. And I'll do this in private session. I think that's my report. Council President, right there.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Let me just clarify something about CTO Day. The mayor said at the next meeting, but the next meeting is our planning session with our
No.
counter?
It's not. Oh, well, I'm sorry, with the counter, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. It's a planning session with the counterpart. If people in the audience or on TV are looking to actually see the kids in action, that's Monday night, March 25th.
Yes, that's correct.
So they plan with us before a council meeting, but they take over the council on a Monday night, not a Wednesday night.
Correct.
Do they start at 7 or 7:30? They start at 7.
7 or 6:30, I thought it was 6:30.
No, their real meeting, if people want.
7, yes.
Yeah, 7. So if people, it's really a fun night. The kids do a great job. So, mark your calendars if you're so inclined, because they really rehearse, they really come up with some good ideas, and it's fun to watch them. I'd like to start my report with extending condolences to Carl Padula and the entire Padula family. Barbara was really a fixture here in town, and she was really a delight to work with, and she really will be missed. Just to add, I know earlier it was noted that the family had suggested in donations to St. Jude. At the wake, there was also a note that indicated that they would appreciate if you don't want to send to St. Jude, it would be to the Multiple Myeloma Society. So those were the two charities that the family had designated. I was going to begin, basically, I know the administrator had sent out an email to us indicating that he was going to get an update on Summit Avenue. Do you have anything? They were working today. We get the impression they're going to work tomorrow. Do you have anything to update from?
That was the update in the mayor.
You- Okay, so there's nothing additional to add to that? Okay. The redevelopment agency met on our standard night on the third Thursday of every month. The Plum Law project came before the agency for some modifications. The project really, the modifications are visual improvements over the original, and he was very, Rob Fortunato was representing Plum Law, and they were very accommodating, and we're looking forward to that project going forward. In addition, you're hearing this, I just want to point out to, we heard from the audience that there's a little bit of a small project going on the border of Pompton Lakes and Riverdale. And there's another project going, redevelopment project going on in the border between Pompton Lakes and Wanacue. So, we're going to see that redevelopment is happening all around us, and perhaps we can support each other and learn from each other. And so it's I know we as a council, Liz had apprised us of what the Wanacue project is, so I'm just sort of bringing it to folks' attention so we become that much more expert in terms of handling them when they do come before us. The bid met same day as the redevelopment agency earlier that day. They did spend a bunch of time going over their budget, which the mayor alluded to in his earlier remarks. There is one thing that they did ask me just to share with the council. It's in the formative stages, but it is called the Red Carpet Neighbors. And basically, Red Carpet Neighbors is a program that they're thinking of introducing. They did not get passage of it, but they introduced it initially, and they did give me a flyer just to show you. And it's basically updated welcome wagon, which I don't think we've really done in a long time. And what they're indicating is, besides the businesses in town participating in this welcome wagon, both the borough and our civic organizations can also participate in it. So Val, who does a lot of the work for the bid, gave me a copy of this and asked me to share it with you. But it is in the formative stages, so I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. The mayor constantly alludes to the volunteerism in town. Councilwoman Polidori mentioned this in her earlier report, but I really do want to give a shout out, and she may as well. The Women's Club as a project that's just ending, and it's this Souls for Souls. And what happened with that, basically they're collecting new and used shoes to distribute to be used. And when I say success begets success, the more people dropped off the shoes, the more shoes they seem to get. And I know, for myself, I dropped off bags and bags. I said to them, I kept taking pictures of shoes I found in my children's closet. My kids don't live at home anymore. And said, these are your shoes. If you have no need for them, I have a good place to send them. I kept sending them pictures. They say, okay, Mom, those you can give. And it was, we really felt good about it. And as I was talking to Art, and because his house was a drop-off spot, he remarked that it wasn't even just the women's club that participated. He said, for instance, the Jazzercise in town, Judy Berlin, the owner, dropped off bags of sneakers to participate in the project. So it's a project that really, the more, I know Councilwoman Polidori mentioned it, but the more it got out there, the more success it had. I think at this point they have like over 800.
So as of Sunday, it was 770.
Yeah, and I think now they've exceeded the 800. So we'll get it, tomorrow night is a women's club. We'll get a definite count, but we're hoping that and they were shooting for 500. So, that's just goes to your thesis that we have the best volunteers here. I'll just quickly look at my notes to make sure I told you everything. Oh, one last thing. You heard about the budget tonight. The mayor did a brief introduction, but I really just want to congratulate Councilman Bennett. What the mayor didn't share is this is his first year chairing the Finance Committee. And chairing the Finance Committee is sort of an unsung job, and you did a beautiful job introducing it and sharing it, and there are a lot, as the mayor indicated, there was a lot of work behind the scenes, and there'll be more discussion in the next month, before we vote on it, the 27th, so that's my report.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention in my report, actually, I'm meeting with the chairperson of the Freeholders, and the Freeholders is like the council that runs the county. He reached out to me saying, how can I help Pompton Lakes, dealing with certain things. Well, one of the things I'm going to tell him is every road coming into Pompton Lakes is a county road, and they're all falling apart. I get constant complaints from many residents, and it's not just one road, Colfax, coming in off Lakeside Bridge, Dawes Highway, they're all county roads, and their county trucks are riding over those roads just like our residents are, and how they don't know the roads need repair is beyond me, but that is one of the first things I'll be bringing up to him when I speak to him, to say, look, we need the county out here paving their part of it. We're doing what we can inside the town, but outside the town, it's a mess getting into Pompton. So hopefully that'll work, and hopefully we get some roads paved with that. Okay, Councilwoman Polidori.
Thank you. I also would like to offer my condolences to the Padula family. And just to finish up where Terry left off with the Women's Club, thank you to everyone in the community that did drop off shoes. And if you are interested in learning more about the organization and participating, the next meeting is at the Christ Church on the 7th at 7 p.m.
It's not tomorrow.
No.
Oh, thank you.
But the shoe
ends tomorrow, but
So
not
we'll
the
have
meeting,
the
but not the
meeting is
meeting.
on the 7th.
Okay, thank you.
And over the past 2 weeks, I also did have the opportunity to attend the open space meeting as well as the planning board meeting. I do have some notes on some updates for appointments to the MUA. They are as follows. The chairman will be Kevin Carroll, Personnel Commissioner Michael Longo, Finance Commissioner Neil Galletta, Water Commissioner Lloyd Kent, and the Wastewater Commissioner George Decker. Additionally, I do have some notes from the Rec Committee. The programs that we had spoke about last time are still continuing Tuesday and Thursday nights, yoga from 7 p.m. to 7:45. Tuesday and Thursday nights also at Lakeside School, the walking club. Get Fit is taking place every Monday and Wednesday at Lincoln School, and they are starting the softball and indoor field hockey clinics that runs from April 1st to April 5th for softball and field hockey, April 8th to April 12th. Just a reminder, the date for the Easter egg hunt was changed. It is now going to be held on April 14th at 3 p.m. at Hirschfield Park with a rain date of April 21st. I got that right this time. And that is, Coffee with the Council is being moved to an evening. We're going to try that and see how it works. We're hoping to be more accommodating. I know mornings were a little hectic. So we're going to try March 11th from 5 to 7 at Starbucks. Some of us will be there from 5 to 6. Some of us will be there from 6 to 7. So we'll see how that works. And then, on a personal note, I did attend the Polar Plunge in Seaside, which is the largest polar plunge in New Jersey, this past weekend with my son. I made him go in. I was very proud of him. He followed through with it. He was, he didn't particularly care for it, but when we were done, he said...
I wonder why.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine.
He said, "I didn't like it, but knowing that I was doing something that helped people that needed it made it worthwhile, and I will do it again next year." So I did participate with the same team that I participated with last year, and we were proud to announce that we raised almost $5,000 with our team alone. So that is it.
That's impressive and crazy to do. But just to follow up on the Easter egg hunt for new residents that are new to this, we meet at the tennis courts down at Hirschfield Park. It starts at kindergarten and works its way up to about 7th grade, 6th grade. They do it in age groups. It's basically putting out the eggs on the tennis court itself. It's not looking for eggs in the woods. It gets very crowded, so, you know, if you're going to come down, get there early, you'll line up in age groups, and they'll do it that way. It is at the tennis courts on the dates. Like, you just mention those dates again.
I think I said the 14th and the 21st.
You did.
14th.
I don't want to get it wrong again. It's, wait,
Yes, you did.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have the April calendar.
It's,
April 14th at 3 p.m. with a rain date of April 21st.
right, and just so we clarify, when you're looking for a rain date, it would be put on our webpage. If you're not sharing our webpage now, you get on our Facebook page, it would be up there if it's being canceled. Okay, Councilman Denon.
Thank you, Mayor. I as well would like to offer my condolences to the Padula family. The Historic Commission now has 3 openings. The Class A member, which is separate because we need someone with a background in historic architecture or engineering for the Class A member. And then there's 2 more or less regular members, 1 alternate, 1 regular member.
So wait, say that again, you need a
Class A.
Class A, which is hard to find.
Right,
Okay.
someone with a background in historic architecture, engineering. And then we have an alternate, and then a full member opening.
Okay.
Last Friday, I attended the PLRYO beefsteak.
I know someone who might be interested, so could you just tell me what day they meet?
Sure, it's the
The art, the...
Historic?
Art, historic, right.
historic, yes, the
It's Mondays.
fourth Monday.
Fourth Monday at
Fourth
7.
Monday.
Fourth Monday at the Civic Center.
Fourth
Tuesday.
Tuesday, that's right.
Yes, thank you.
Tuesday, and you meet here?
At the Civic Center,
Civic Center at 7?
7.
We all agreed on Monday, though. That's amazing.
It's been a long 2.5 months.
Okay, good.
Good? All right. PLRYO football and wrestling program had a beefsteak Friday night at the Brownstone. Huge turnout, awesome Tricky Tray selection and whatnot. We won a bowling for 4, my family and I, so I'm looking forward to that. And then on Sunday, I worked off those calories by volunteering at the maintenance day for the trails. We were broken up into teams. Councilman DeLine and I were on the team with 2 other people, 3 other guys, and a bunch of other people, right. There was this small bridge, which is basically a 4x4, not bigger than 4, 6x6, tied together with 2x4s.
That was about 20 feet long.
About 20 feet long, yes. Pictures are on Facebook, as well as video.
And what was that bridge for?
It's basically, it was built to, but,
Do you want me to take
sure. You're the,
So the bridge had been, it's on the Red Trail, and it's to go over a culvert along the Red Trail, which the Red Trail is more or less between Lincoln Avenue down by the MUA out to Ramapo Street. And when we were getting a lot of rainfall, and I won't call it flooding because it was occupying the wetlands, there was enough water that managed to pick up this 20-foot bridge
Oh, move it.
and move it downstream and actually had it parallel to the embankment. So a group of us were able to actually just keep turning it over
Shifting it,
and
yeah.
shifting it and everything, and actually got it back to the exact same spot.
That's great.
So,
Yep.
it was quite
It was
the
slightly
effort,
heavy,
but-
went like Egyptian style with the logs to roll it. and- It was heavy, it was really heavy. So Councilman DeLine described it perfectly. I'd like to wish my 7-year-old happy birthday. And then lastly, my wife just got notification that she's being appointed to the Board of Directors for the Boys and Girls Club of Northwestern New Jersey.
Great.
Congratulations to Lauren.
Okay,
That's my
thank
report.
you. Councilman Begg.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd also like to give my condolences to the Padula family and also to the Wetback family.
Yes.
Lynn was a lieutenant in the police department here for many years and has been retired now for 40-some years. And not only that, 2 days after he passed away, his wife also passed away. So it's been a double hit for the family.
And he was a police officer like 27 years, right? Something like that?
Yes. So, my condolences to the family there also. I attended the Pompton Lakes Community Partnership bid meeting on February 21st. The bid submitted its budget, as you had seen tonight, to the mayor and council for approval. Chairman John Sujan reported that the bid had a successful bid sale on February 9th. They discussed the approval of an additional Christmas tree decorations to cover Lakeside and Colfax Ave, as well as extending it to Ringwood Ave on Wanacue Ave. The bid is planning a new welcome residence packet, which Terry Reichert had just mentioned. And they'll be handing out advertising for the businesses as well as discount coupons. And finally, the bid set up a committee to revise their grant manual. A little plug for the Pompton Lakes Rotary and the Pompton Lakes Reformed Church, who are sponsoring a fundraiser, a trip to Yankee Stadium, Yankees versus the Twins baseball game on May 5th. Price is $70 per person, and that includes transportation. And that's my report.
Nice report, I like that.
I like that.
Okay, Councilman Dewan.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off by, again, recognizing Barbara Padula, and my condolences to Carl and their family. One thing I did not know that I found out, unfortunately, that Friday was Liz, our clerk, and Barbara actually started the exact same day together. So, you know, they have both served the borough for a long time. Barbara was, you know, anytime you walked in, no matter what was going on, she had a smile for you. So, you know, she'll be sorely missed. The Stormwater Management Committee, as I mentioned last meeting, the Rain Garden Workshop is coming up on Saturday, March 16th. It'll be at the Civic Center at 12 p.m. 3 people have RSVP, so it will be held. So in case you're holding out on seeing if it's actually going to happen or not. Again, that meeting is to provide some technical guidance on developing a rain garden. And, you know, these rain gardens can be useful in detaining stormwater into our infrastructure, slowing down the runoff. It doesn't matter if you actually live in a flood zone or not, they are useful for that purpose wherever you are. So again, if you're available that Saturday, I'd encourage everyone to attend. February 17th, as Councilman Bennett mentioned, we had the first of our winter trail maintenance events. In addition to moving the bridge, we had about 20 volunteers in total. We broke out into different groups. Some people covered the red trail, some people covered the blue trail, which is still very wet as it tends to be, the yellow trail, and then we actually had a number of volunteers that were actually able to go around to the new trail around Herschel Park and also the Morris Canal Greenway and take care of some of the issues there. So 20 volunteers on what was a relatively cold day was a phenomenal showing. We do have another one coming up on Saturday, March 2nd at 2 p.m. Again, we usually meet at the Willowfield parking lot down by the Joe Grill Field. and then break out to different groups from there. The other thing I wanted to point out was, as I think it's become a little bit more publicized the last couple of years, but when there is snow coming, people really do need to remove their cars from the streets. And it's not just about so DPW can plow, but it's for emergency response, emergency management. If those cars are near a fire hydrant, or in some cases, I had a resident complain to me about somebody who actually was parking in front of a fire hydrant, the trucks have to go around. And if the trucks go around, then, in that area where the fire hydrant is, that's not getting plowed out, leaving the resident to shovel something else if they're able to get to it, which can also affect critical response time. So it's really important that, regardless of where you are, if you live near a fire hydrant or not, to make sure you get your car off the road when the roads are going to be snow covered. It's town law, so there's really no reason not to. And the last thing I wanted to point out was I wanted to recognize Steve Grayberg, who is moving out of town. Steve Grayberg has been another volunteer for many years. He's been instrumental in a lot of the committees that we constantly point out for the hard work and good work that they do. He's been the chairperson of the Flood Advisory Board. I think really took it to the next level. He turned it over to good hands when he was done with Lauren Bennett. I've been the Flood Advisory Board liaison for 2 years, and a lot of people when they sort of step down from their leadership positions, I don't want to say they disappear, but they don't stay involved as much in the committee. And Steve has been the vice chair of that Flood Advisory Board since Lauren's taken over. And that's always a good sign of a good leader, when you can be there, even if you're not the person leading, to assist and to mentor that other person. And Steve has been good about that. He got the Stormwater Management Committee going, the Lake Restoration Committee, the photos that you see in the back, doing, with the photo contest, bringing recognition to the lakes and sort of connecting our community, whether you live there or not, back to those bodies of water. And he's turning that over to Bernadette Arancibia, who, she's been on the committee for a number of years, and I know that she'll be doing a great job, because I've seen her operate the past couple of years as the liaison. But most striking about Steve was, Steve always did these things, and he did it without asking anything for himself. And that meant a lot. And again, the way, we'll miss these people because they have provided a lot to our community. So just wanted to say thanks to him. That concludes my report, Mayor.
And Steve is one of those guys that, cares about the town he is living in, and understands that if you care about the town you're living in, you put the time in to do what you have to do. And he's one of those guys that put in the time. Besides everything that Councilman Dewan just mentioned, he was the one that brought to my attention, and I didn't even know this, that Wikipedia, anybody can put up information on Wikipedia. There's no one who checks Wikipedia information. And someone went up and put up some disparaging remarks about Pompton Lakes on Wikipedia. And so anybody who was checking about Pompton Lakes would see these horrible comments about Pompton Lakes. He told me about it and said, let me contact the people. They said, there's not much you can do because you have to be made an administrator. He went and got made an administrator and figured out a way to handle it, and kept checking on that to make sure it was done right. It's amazing to me that Wikipedia, it's news to me. I mean, anybody can go on Wikipedia and put anything they want on Wikipedia to say anything they want. So unfortunately, an angered resident or someone not from town who knows decided to put some harsh words about Pompton Lakes in the title. So when someone did a search about Pompton Lakes, that's what came up. So I give him credit just for taking the time to do that. So it's those kind of residents that really make a difference in town. Councilman Giaconetti.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I want to continue to echo the Padula family. Known pretty much my whole life. I'm friends with Barbara's two sons, Randy and Carl Jr. Again, my sympathies go out to Carl Sr. and the rest of the family on their loss. And also, I just wanted to point out, I know Councilman Deline mentioned Liz Brandis here started the same day, but if you were there at the church, Liz gave a wonderful eulogy. It was very touching, and I don't know how she kept it together, because I was a mess, but she did a wonderful job, and it was very touching to see. I wanted to thank the Pompton Lakes Police Department, Patterson, the county, for the funeral procession. Everybody involved did an outstanding job, and it was a testament to everybody. I also wanted to, my condolences to the Wetback family. I didn't serve with Lynn when I was on the police department. I know Bill Begg did. But also a shout out to our police department. They were there as an honor guard, and pretty much everybody here never worked with Lynn. So it just goes to show you, when I was on, I always felt that way. Guys before me, even though I didn't work with them, always honored them and their family by being an honor guard. And it's nice to see the Pompton Lakes Police still keep this tradition, which I thought was wonderful. Also, shout out to the VFW. They came there and did a wonderful service, because he was a Navy veteran. So I knew him as a kid. You know, listen, he yelled at me all the time, tell my father I was doing something wrong. But, I mean, I never got to work with him, but he probably would have been proud of me. You know, he was, you know, he knew me later on in life, so I became an officer. So he goes, I knew you would be an officer, so. But anyway, again, my condolences to the Wetback family. Also, I just wanted to real quickly bring up, we had on the consent agenda with the DPW, I wanted to congratulate 3 employees. We had 2 labor 1s become labor 2s. They were promoted. And we had a driver become a truck driver heavy. So it was good to see some movement down there. I know this is what we strive for. So I think everybody should be proud, and, you know, it keeps the men happy, and, you know, honors them that work hard and they produce, and, you know, Superintendent Dan O'Rourke put this forward. So thank you to everybody for doing that. I also attended, it was the last meeting before, but I forgot to mention it, the Pompton Lakes Fine Arts Night. It was held there, and they did woodworking, photography, visual arts, music, culinary, food. I mean, I ate dinner, but I ate another dinner while I was there. So it was a great job. They do a wonderful job. The kids singing. I mean, it was a miniature, you know, it was amazing how much they did, and I couldn't believe these guys were getting up and singing in front of hundreds of people. They did a fabulous job. So kudos to the Board of Education putting that on. Everybody that does that fantastic job. Also, I wanted to quickly point out, Saturday, April 13th, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. here in the council chambers, we're going to have a SMAC blood screening. It's $25 for registration for the residents. To call, you please call and have your reservations. It's 973-835-0143, and then extension 235. If the phone someone doesn't pick up, leave a message, your name and contact information. They will call you back. The only thing they ask to bring, again, is $25, but they ask you to bring 2 self-addressed envelopes, because I guess they have to send them both out to get the results back. So that's the only thing they ask for. But that is, again, on Saturday, April 13th. I think I've seen it posted on Facebook and Twitter, but I just wanted to let everybody know that, you know, it's out there just to remind them. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to follow up on Councilman Giaconetta, we're trying, you know, we've just started a new Facebook page. With anything that the town is doing, just as Councilman Giaconetta was mentioning about the health department, we're trying to put up any information that we get on that webpage. So if you haven't joined the Facebook page, it's, is it Pompton Lakes? Pompton Lakes Borough. Do search. You'll get update information about activities and events that are going on in town.
And we also have a Twitter page, too.
And a Twitter page, yes. Also on Twitter, also. Professional reports.
No report. Administrator's report.
A couple things, Mayor. We are in receipt of the Rutgers Floodplain Restoration Plan Phase 1. As you know, that was one of our capital projects for last year. Rutgers is finished the first phase. The report governing body has a copy of that. I also pass it on to the Flood Advisory Committee and also to our engineers who are involved in floodplain management programs. We have a copy of the January Police Month report. Also, relative to issues of flooding, as you know, it's almost 3 years now, FEMA put out preliminary firm maps, and we have been in the process of spending a lot of time and a lot of money getting denied our appeals twice. That being said, the mayor, myself, Ed Merrill, and a number of engineers went down to DEP last fall to discuss maybe another way around this issue. And Joseph Scupian, who is the engineer from SWM Consulting, is the preeminent hydrologist in the state of New Jersey. He's the gentleman we hired. And he's the gentleman who actually talked to people at DEP who do the reviews of hydrology and so forth. He's working on looking at the modeling that FEMA did, and he believes he has some input that will help change the mindset. So what's happening now is he's also working at Fairfield and Lincoln Park in our communities. The DEP has come around to Joe's mindset and Joe's thinking, and maybe possibly FEMA might have it wrong. So to do that, it might take a while, but the DEP is also going to allow Pompton Lakes to be the first community to allow for waivers without going to DEP if we can get a specific permit. So right now we're working on putting together a budget to have him apply for that permit, at the same time having continued to work with the analysis along with the other communities. So once I have the formal proposal, we'll approve that for $20,000. He'll do the permitting. We should be able to at least be one of the few towns to allow people now go to the building department who were under the preliminary mapping. If you want to put a shed, you want to put a fence, instead of having to go down to DEP and pay the fees, Sal, Foley, our construction, which will come in, approve that here. So it's going to cost us $20 grand, but it might save taxpayers on overall and save the residents substantial dollars. Well, what's important to understand is that even though these maps are preliminary, these are the maps that DEP go by as gospel. They don't care that FEMA hasn't approved them, that towns are suing FEMA. They only care that's the maps that FEMA believes are the right floodplain maps. So that's what's created the whole problem. That's why half the South End is even more underwater by those maps than it was before. So that's why it's important we continue to fight. But Joe seemed to look at the modeling on the Passaic River, which also impacts our modeling because of the backflow, and DEP is starting to really kind of buy into his theories and into his modeling. So there might be some light in the tunnel. It might take a while, but
It's a very long tunnel.
Council also received Mike Barker's report every year. He's required to provide an annual tax appeal list, which you received. We also provided for you a list of taxpayers in terms of the 5 or 10 largest taxpayers in the town. You have that for your information. We also received the coalition's 2017-18 evaluation. As part of the federal requirement, there's a company called Epiphany who does an evaluation of our coalition on a quarterly basis and a yearly basis. And this is a really good document that says if we meet our goals, haven't met, where are we in the long run under the first few years of our first 5-year grant. So that's a good tool, it's a good evaluation tool to review. The council tonight introduced the 2019 budget. With that being done, I will have the capital ordinance ready for introduction on the 13th, so that it all kind of molds together on the 27th of March, and we can move forward with our funding for the year.
Okay, just following up on what our administrator said, our coalition is meeting tomorrow night, if anybody's interested, at 7 o'clock at the bid office across the street. They welcome anybody, outside volunteers, anybody who's interested in getting involved on how things affecting our children in schools, drugs, alcohol, whatever else is out there. Please come to that meeting. I know a lot of people talk about it, and they're very concerned about it, but there's not a lot of support for the meeting itself. And I don't know the reasons for that, and that's one of the biggest mysteries of the whole thing. But we do have a meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock. To follow up what he said about the flood maps, I have a question. A resident asked me this. I know the DEP follows the new flood maps now. Does the town follow the new flood maps yet, or not?
Absolutely.
So they're using the new flood maps now. So the new flood maps...
Well, again, because Mayor, that is the new standard. So when Sal reviews a property, he has to go by that new standard. Whether or not it's been approved, that is what we have to go by when you're reviewing applications. And even when we're doing work, a lot of that impacted our work on the Greenway, because normally if the maps hadn't changed, we might need the permits we needed. So that's kind of the issue, is that it impacts everything, and there's no other way around it.
Right. So to follow up again what he was saying, there's homes that were put on this new flood map that never were even in a floodplain, and all of a sudden they're in the middle of a floodway. And what that does to that homeowner is if they want to put a fence, a dog house, or anything, they now have to go to the state to get a special permit, which could cost thousands of dollars just to get that permit. We fought with going down to DEP to say that's not right, it's not fair. they should be able to come to our borough. We should okay them for a cost of $50 or $100 to get that same permit and then oversee that. What he's mentioning is we will be one of the first communities to try this pilot program that we brought to them, by the way, to see if it works, and then maybe it'll spread from there. So at least the DEP is trying with us. We're dealing with the federal government and FEMA. You know, if they're changing our map, FEMA's map here in Little Pompton Lakes, that affects everything they do on the whole nation. So it's going to be hard for them to say, let's fix Pompton Lakes without fixing the rest of the flood map, and that's where the problem starts with the whole thing. Any questions for the administrator? Nope? Okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments? Councilman Devine, Councilwoman Palladori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman
Second.
Devine, Councilman Giacosetto, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Privilege of the floor. Anybody have privilege of the floor? I actually have something which is a little unusual, but I'm going to bring it up just because it was sent to me. I got an email from a gentleman who is a senior production manager of a company called Information Matrix. It's a television show. The show is hosted by Mr. Lawrence Fishbaum, who is a pretty famous actor. And we have been recognized as a community on the rise. And they would like to do some type of interview process with us. I haven't followed up with it, and I don't even know if I will. But I think it's pretty impressive that a tiny, and this is nationwide, this is not New Jersey, that somehow we made this community on the rise group. And it is, you know, they've got connection numbers and they've got people I'm supposed to contact about it, and they seem like they have a guy that's in charge of it. So I thought that's interesting, and I throw it out there for everybody. Also, there will be a cancer benefit that Mary Beth Morton throws every year. For the last 20 years, she's raised probably $600,000 on her own as a resident in town by asking for donations. It is March 9th at 7 o'clock at the Elks Lodge. I think the cost is $50 a ticket. Huge tricky tray, food. A lot of residents from town go and have an enjoyable time and get tables. So if anybody's interested, contact Mary Beth Morton, or you can contact Karen Murphy on the rec department, and they'll get you tickets.
Does she still have 3M performing this year?
Yeah, 3M
The
band performs. That's on the whole other part of it, which is very nice to go to. Any other privilege of the floors? Nope. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bennett? Councilman Giacosetto? Thank you, everyone, for coming.
I need to hear this. There's nothing to the council.
Russ, Gregory.